Our home is gone. Much of our stuff is gone. Yet weirdly, we could still be lucky in so many unexpected ways. Humanity can suddenly emerge when you least expect it and when you keep your senses alerted to it. We needed some things to begin the long process of rebuilding our lives and keeping alive our muse. So we drove to a shopping center near where we were staying, and while my wife went into a store to get some supplies, I noticed there was a Barnes & Noble, and I decided to go in and wander. I hadn't been in one for a while, a bookstore that is. I do most of my reading on Kindle these days. Well, beyond the stacks of books, I discovered many things forgotten by the society. The environment itself, the idea of the bookstore. It was life-affirming. I'd forgotten how meaningful it could be just to wander around and browse. The verb, to browse. Not only that, but everybody in the bookstore was really, really nice. Nice people. The clerks and salespeople and the customers and the browsers. We, as a society, have kind of forgotten what it's like to be around groups of nice people. People who are interested in books and thoughts and words and ideas and language. Quiet people. People without avarice or ambition or rapaciousness. People who don't want or need or crave power. Not people shouting inanities or obscenities or racial slurs, or just being loud to each other on their phones, on lines, at the fast food place, murdering any semblance of intellectuality with their actions. After that, we went to a local library where they had a used bookstore inside. They were selling some of the most important books in literature, books that changed the world, for 25 cents, 50 cents, $1. I mean, where else can you change your life, your mind, for 50 cents? And again, everyone was exceedingly nice and quiet. You know, in a bookstore or a library, there is no privilege. There are no elite. Bookstores and libraries are egalitarian. Everyone is equal. Being in the bookstore and the library made me feel better. It gave me hope. What happened to civilization when reading books and ideas and words and language were respected? They were a priority. Remember when the society was heading in that direction, towards higher intelligence? We've let the empty-headed, vacant, greedy, and selfish sons of privilege, the brutes and fools, take over. People like Bush and Trump, who've never read a book in their lives. It limits your worldview and makes it easier to be cruel and indifferent and inane, less compassionate. It makes you stupid, and that's what our leadership is today, to use an anti-woke term, stupid. If you need a dose of goodness, go to a bookstore or a library. If you need a dose of intellectualism, go to a bookstore or a library. Surround yourself in ideas and people who appreciate them and understand how precious and fragile they are. Pay tribute to a dying breed, because we all know bookstores and libraries, and then books themselves, are disappearing like some rare species from a different age. I lost all my books in the fire, like Fahrenheit 451, the act of having a thought and then getting up and walking over to one of the many bookshelves in our house and finding a volume that speaks to that thought, that illuminates that idea, was something I had taken for granted. But as John Lennon said, you don't know what you got until you lose it. But metaphorically, we all live in Fahrenheit 451, a time of idea burning, of word burning, and language burning, and thought burning, replaced by the inarticulate grunts of the brutes and bullies. We've ceded control to the Trumps of the world. You know why? Because we're nice. But if you're nice, don't give up on being nice. Don't become cold and heartless and indifferent to your fellow man. I'm not some kind of social animal, but I know in a bigger way, a more important way, we need connectivity. Trump and the brutes are trying to break that down, to isolate us from each other, to divide and conquer. But collective consciousness and universal love are powerful forces. They can't be broken down or disconnected unless we surrender. Being well read is no longer an asset. It's a liability. That's a shame. I remember a commercial from when I was a kid. It was a PSA for reading. There was a bunch of kids in a coffee shop arguing a point, and a kid walks in with a dog-eared paperback in the back pocket of his jeans. He listens for a moment, and then he takes the book out and starts to explain and clarify, and everybody stops arguing and listens. They learn something and find common ground. That's how you change hearts and minds and lives, not with weapons and threats and violence, but with a book.